I do have to say, as a seasoned storyteller, that when someone arrives and says, the story I'm about to tell you is from when I was growing up in New York, you're like, shit. Yeah, never mind, I just won't tell a story then, I guess. I'm going to show you my 8-pack later.
That was like checkmate.
Yeah, I was like, fucking A! This happened last time! So, the decision that I made came from my second kiss, who was this guy that I actually went to high school with and thought was really stupid in high school, and then we wound up going to college together, and I didn't enjoy hooking up with him at all, but he was really good at storytelling. And we would actually just, I mean, still to this day, he's come to town sometimes, so we'll probably hook up. But that is simply because we only hook up in between things that we actually care about. And then when we reconvene, we're like, oh my God, I really liked this person, this is what they did to me, it sucked, this is the story. And so I kind of adopted from him this philosophy of dating on the premise of, it'll be a good story. And so I was in one of those long dry spells as usual, and I was waiting tables at this pizza restaurant, and I was working at a coffee shop, and this pretty attractive older guy, maybe mid-30s, I was like mid-20s, was kind of a regular at both places, and he was super sweet to me, and he was, I think the DA, he was like the city-appointed prosecutor, and I would kind of like learn things about his life, and I was studying Spanish, and he said I could come to one of his trials that was conducted in Spanish with the interpreter and observe that. I started like biking around this time, and he like brought me a bike light so that I would be safe, and like there were these like cues where I was like, oh, this guy might be interested. And so I guess through our interaction at both of these jobs, you know, he could probably tell that I would accept like a hangout, and he asked me to hang out. And I think I was in the back of this coffee shop, and I had like pulled him up on Facebook to be like, hey, you guys know this regular? I think I'm gonna go on a date with him. And so I think I pulled it up, and then I turned around to tell someone else, and a friend of mine was like, yeah, his profile says married. And I was like, what? No way. And then I looked and I was like, oh my God, it does. That's so weird. And then, like, a couple days later, I pulled it up, and it was like, single. And I was like, this is pretty rich. And so the date came, and I was like, I'm going to do this. This is really funny. And so I invited him to this, like, super small, like, extensive beer list, like, hole-in-the-wall pub in Richmond that is my, like, back pocket, like, you're going to think I'm a cool chick if I invite you here. And so we're there, and it's, like, super shady lighting, not kind of shady place. And so, like, I order some like high alcohol content, like double hopped IPA or something that's, you know, pretty hefty. And I'm just assuming, because he seems like a cool guy, that he's excited about this beer list, and the waiter's like, and for you? He's like, I'll have a Coke. She like walks away, and I'm like, what's happening? And he's like, yeah, you know, I probably should have told you, I actually like haven't had a drink in like 20 years. I think the issue was that his brother had been killed by a gang member or something when he was really young, and this kind of created this whole trajectory towards working in law enforcement, and he basically said that he was so intense of a person that he did not need any assistance to feel a high. And he was like, you know, I'm just already like so hyper and so intense that like I just don't need anything else. And I'm like drinking it now, like, oh yeah. And like, so I'm thinking like, okay, I'm just gonna finish this beer, and like this weird date will be over, or whatever. I'm like getting to the end of this. I mean, it was a fine time, but like I'm getting to the end of the beer, and I'm like, okay, this is where you cut it off, because he's not drinking. You're not on the same like level. I'm like, you know, starting to slur my words. And some older man regular from the coffee shop. Okay, so the waitress comes by and is like, "Do you guys need anything else?" I'm like, "I'm fine." She's like, "That man over there sent you this beer." Great. So then I'm 2 high alcohol beers and he's sipping on his Coke. And I went to the bathroom and I was like, "Emily, this is about a good story. You are going to come back there and say, 'Hey, just noticed you're married on Facebook, by the way. Just wanted you to go ahead and tell me about what that's about.'" And so I got back and somehow I got that out. And he was like, "Yeah, I am technically married still. This is the first date I've been on since I met my high school sweetheart and married her. I have no idea how to do this. You seemed really sweet." Like, it was kind of like he was saying, like, "This is my training wheels date. Like, I'm not maybe even interested in you, but, like, you seemed, like, innocuous," which I am. And so he's like, "Yeah, like," he tells me the story of why they're getting a divorce, and I don't even know if I believe this, but their honeymoon was to go to this nude island together, and they would just go to this naked island and whatever, and they would go back every year for their anniversary, and she became so enamored with this nude island that she told him that she wanted to be polygamous, or polyamorous, just, you know, she just wanted to fuck everyone and she wanted to be naked all the time. And he was a district attorney, and he was like super straight-laced, doesn't drink, and he was like, "Yeah, I've kind of been in love with you my whole life, and like I just want to only kiss you and love you." And she was like, "Nah, I just want to be naked and fuck everyone." And he like couldn't deal with it, and so he was like, "I just can't believe I'm losing the love of my life, and I just can't believe that I'm not married anymore." And then I realized you and I were going on a date and you might find out that I was married, so I just changed my status last week because I was like, "That's pretty weird." And I was like, "Yes, as a young lady, it is pretty weird that you changed your status last week." And so we kind of like wrapped up the date, and I was like, I mean, not drunk, but kind of my head was spinning. And I was like, "Okay, well, this has been cool. Like, you told me your whole situation. I'm just normal. Just kind of going ways." And he was like, just insisted that he follow me all the way back to my house because he works in law enforcement, and he said, "Something crazy could happen to you on the way home. I'm just going to follow you home." So, like, it wasn't like I could just leave the bar and be like, that was the end of that weird date. Like, he was in my rearview mirror, and he could tell that I had 2 beers. Like, it was just pretty creepy. And then I just kind of had to, like, wave when I got to my house, like, "Never see you again, all right, cool." So I guess my decision to date for fun stories has really proven to be awesome. I think he made a decision that night to maybe stick with the single status on Facebook before he asked girls on dates.